The President of the Court of Appeal has appointed judges who will be members of the various election tribunals across the Federation. This has set the stage for legal battles for these people contesting the results announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The President of the NBA, Yakubu Mikiao, has asked that the proceedings of the Presidential Election Tribunal should be broadcast live as a way of ensuring transparency of the trial. As the judges prepare to hear these cases, Nigerians are looking forward to a transparent and fair process. The question is, what will the tribunals do to engender trust and confidence in judicial outcomes?
And of course, Dr. Sam Amadi, our news analyst, now joins us to really try to provide an answer to that question. Thank you, Dr. Amadi, for being here. And of course, the issue, we have to look at the issue that will confront the election petition tribunal, specifically that of the presidency, as it concerns, the conscious transparency, which of course a lot of people have said, INEC should have done better. So now it's up to the court, to all eyes. So looking at transparency and public trust, what should the tribunal be doing to ensure these two things are done, or at least seem to be done?
Absolutely. I think, like they say, justice is not just done, but seem to be done. And from the public, who are not lawyers, who are not technical people, the optics is as important as the substance. The appearance of justice. Lawyers can go through the script and see the arguments of my lords on the panel, but the unknown lawyers will likely see more the optics, the science, the drama, and the symbolisms. So the first thing is that this is not just any other kind of electoral cases. This is also a case cases are coming up in an election that seem to have mobilized and divided us a lot. So you see, we never had this level of, if you look at social media activism, look at youth participation, the numbers that registered tells a story around political awakening. And the country is at a juncture where the election parallels 1993 in the sense of candidates and some of the grand rhetorics that accompanied it. So what that means is that you're going to see, again, this is also unfortunately a very low time for the judiciary. If you compare the judiciary now, especially the Supreme Court, and compare with 1980s, 85, 90s, this Supreme Court, this judiciary, not just Supreme Court, this judiciary has massive discredit. Merited or not, it might not be their fault, but the perception, one, of judicializations, when the court upsets too many elections, people get worried. And when the reasons seem not to align with the public sense of electoral justice, it weakens further the confidence of the court. And don't forget that the courts trade on trust. When we see the judge bewigged with looking stern, we convey the sense that this is a man who is likely going to act not on sentiment, but more on facts and theory. Again, then what the court should be doing first is ensure that they build up that public trust. And when the NBA Prince talked about transmission of election, that's really important. I'll give you an example. Third term in Parliament, when there was a bill to give President Obasanjo a third term agenda, one of the things that saved us was that the National Assembly, that I was a special advisor to the Senate President, Ken Namani, they instituted open hearing. So people were watching in and hearing how their various senators contributed, and when the bill died, don't forget that there was stories around 50 million bribe for legislators. But that open session diffused, deflected it. So people saw the transparency. And one of the things we said then was that due process is more important than outcome. That for decision making, oftentimes, it's not about who won, who the court affirmed. It's about the perception and the transparency of the process of the court. So I think the first thing the courts want to be doing is setting up, reassuring the public through their official communication that they really want to do justice. And secondly, as much as possible, allowing real-time observation of this, especially the Principal Tribunal, which is the Court of Appeal, a very serious court. So if they can do that and then manage appearance from now till then, none of these judges, they should kind of tactical exclusion from normal social activities, because when you appoint A and B to a panel to do senatorial election, people want to see, you know, when they see you and the candidate somewhere drinking or somewhere in socializing. So there's to be some voluntarily imposed seclusion of a sort, social restrictions for activities, because look, judging from the realist school of law, which I belong to, is like judges are like us; they live with among us. So people are going to attribute ethnicity, the identity issues, moral issues, comprehensive moral views to them as well. But the less we see them, you know, entangled with those settings, the more we treat them with special wisdom and, you know, oracular, you know, quietude and objectivity. But the more we see them mingling, and the less we know what they are doing, the more conspiratorial. So I think that the best bet now for the court, not just for the candidates, to save the image, the biggest person on trial in this electoral cycle now, it was INEC. INEC failed that test and have passed the buck. Now, judiciary is on trial. So I think if I was managing the chief judge or the president of the Court of Appeal or the chief justice of Nigeria, I would be thinking more around how do we secure the integrity of the judicial system, because we've seen that it will take us a long time to fix the electoral system. It takes a long time for the executive and the regulatory agencies to do their job. But we have a shortcut to democracy through the courts. So if the courts courageous, if the courts show a lot of integrity and willing to enhance public trust, we might be getting from the back door what we lost from the front door. So the courts really are carrying the boat. They are under trial. So the reason why they should be more transparent is not because of the candidates, to secure the integrity of the judiciary, which we need to sustain democracy.
Now, in this desperation, quote unquote, or in this move to secure the trust and the sanity of the judiciary, how do we now differentiate between this transparency, this move for transparency, and grandstanding?
Very good point. I mean, see, the notion about, I can give you an example. The U.S. Supreme Court last period had hearings that were online broadcast, real life. I was here in Nigeria. I was listening to the arguments between the Chief Justice, the Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, and the clients, especially in the case involving freedom of religion under Biden during the coronavirus. They did real time. It's not grandstanding, actually. It's about the court offering people to see. By the way, the courts are actually open to everybody. But what we're not talking about is the court being able to transmit, because that day will be packed, only lawyers, few lawyers, and maybe stakeholders will be able to gain access.
Well, even the media usually
will be asked to
stay
go
outside.
But in this case, imagine if, and it'd be best if it's a court-moderated telecast or streaming. So it's not like anybody's going to distort the message. The court itself will open it up and people can tap in, you know.
But these are suggestions by the NBA president, and even one of the candidates, Peter Obi, has also suggested that, you know, to actually gain that public trust.
It's critical, because look, this election is not just about, politicians are always merchants in hope, but we're actually in a bad place. It's a bad spot as a country in terms of unity, in terms of trust in institutions. The Afro Barometer test before this election showed very, very poor. You know, if you look at 12% trust in INEC, trust in election, trust in judiciary. So it has gone down with this crisis of the election. So to ramp it up, to sustain post-election governance, you need transparency. So this is not grandstanding. It's in the interest of the courts, the judiciary, and the political system that somehow people sit in their rooms and say, well,